In this week's ghoulish episode of Ushio and Tora, Ushio continues to rampage across the landscape as the beast spear continues to consume his mind and body, turning him into a monstrous demonic yokai. This week's episode of Ushio and Tora was action-packed and surprisingly heartwarming, and it's basically just a straight continuation of last week's episode where you get to see all of Ushio's companions jump in, comb his hair, and save the day, get a little quick snippet of their backstory, and that's about it. But this one really focuses on the character of Asako, who is, without a doubt, the love interest of Ushio. It's made very clear in this episode because she firmly establishes that she loves him. She outright basically says it in this episode, but we don't get to hear it. And it's this act of love and hope from his companions which bring Ushio back to his human side. There's also a little bit of information that's really important about this episode. That weird guy who's actually within the beast spear, who's actually constantly sort of like working on it and making it, apparently he's the one who draws people into the beast spear and might actually be like the physical human manifestation of this thing. All I know is the guy continues to look metal as he pounds this thing with a hammer and breathes fire on it. It's pretty cool. Speaking of pretty cool, this episode ends in a really great flashy fashion, where when Ushio finally comes back to his human side, he teams up with Tora and they destroy all of these swarms of Hyo demons, those flying eyeballs. And apparently after becoming a demon and then becoming a human again, Ushio is now that much more stronger, and he decides that they're actually going to take on the Hakumen no Mono, which I imagine is probably not going to go all that well. And in many ways, I kind of feel like this is a part of the Hakumen no Mono's plan. Like, maybe the beast spear can actually kill him, but maybe the beast spear is the only thing that can actually destroy that barrier around him, and that's the reason why he's drawing him to him. That being said, this was still an incredibly entertaining episode where just about every character from the series got to do something pretty cool, and I think that's great. So what's the rundown on this week's episode of Ushio and Tora? Just a really heartwarming episode. I didn't expect it to be like this, or to be this schmaltzy, and me actually liking it, because that type of stuff kind of, is off-putting to me. I've never really been a big fan of, like, romantic anime or something like that, but I can believe the relationship with Asako and Ushio. They make it clear because we've seen a number of scenes of them hanging together. We always get different flashbacks. There's one in this episode where Ushio actually saves her from a couple of bullies. You can really see how the seeds were planted for their love story very earlier on in their childhood. So it makes it seem a little more believable. And it is a little cliche that she brought Ushio back to normal by hugging him and all that jazz. She definitely had the least problems with actually having to comb his hair. Like at the beginning of the episode, you had Hiyama Yu, who is the track star. I really like that they took advantage of that by making her getting in the start position, and then she started to run across the bridge, which was already crumbling, and it looked really cool because it almost looked like she was the one destroying the bridge, but it's actually because it was just so frail. And then of course you have the character of Mayuko, who's just such an infectiously cute and fun character, and again she ends up getting saved continuously by Tora, which I still believe, like, they have more than a buddy-buddy relationship. It does feel like a romantic relationship to me. I mean, yeah, Tora's all like, no, I'm just doing this because I want to eat you guys, but honestly I do believe that Tora has strong feelings for both Mayuko and Ushio. He just really doesn't want to express them at all, or he's hiding something that we don't know quite yet. That being said, this entire episode was great, especially when we got to the Hakumen no Mono's cave, which has a really cool entrance. It's just this, like, small little cave entrance in a wall, and then right in front of it are these two giant trees, which also have these holes in them which line up directly with the entrance of the cave. I'm not sure what the significance of this is, like if this was an attack from the creature, if this is how they actually created the cave or embedded him inside, but it looks really awesome and it makes for a really great setting. We also got to see the return of Hyo the Exorcist in this episode, who unfortunately did not get to do much at all. Really, he just created this barrier so that he could save himself and the girls and Ushio from all of the giant hordes of the Hyo. And all the other characters were pretty much just doing what they did before, which is creating these giant walls of electricity that the giant flying eyeballs would fly into. But still, this was a fun episode, if a little bit predictable, but was surprisingly heartwarming, especially the scene at the end when Ushio finally comes back to his human side and he's recalling all of his friends one at a time, mentioning how he's seen them grow in the series. It's really cheesy, but cheesy in a good way, and that's why I really liked this episode. I was hoping for something a little more intense and monstrous, being that it is Halloween after all, but still, I'll take this episode. I liked it. just like the rest of the series. I enjoyed this one quite a bit. It was a little slow and redundant in some parts because it was very similar to last week's episode, but I think it was a fitting conclusion to this story arc and the beginning of one that's probably going to get even crazier. So, good animation, good artwork, lots of really memorable moments, and some really enduring characters make this a pretty good episode of the series. But like I said, just a little slow at times. So I am going to give this week's episode a 4 out of 5, but that's still a really high quality episode that you should definitely check out if you're a fan of the Ushio and Tora manga series, or you've been watching this brand new anime version. Check it out, guys! It was pretty good. But before you guys leave today, I would love to hear your thoughts about this episode, and you can tell me in the comments section below. Did you like this week's episode of Ushio and Tora? Did you have a favorite female character who showed up in this episode? Do you think that Ushio and Tora are literally about to throw down with a Hakumen no Mono, or is this just the beginning of something even more dangerous? Please tell me what you hope to see from the rest of the series in the comments section below. Thank you guys for watching this review. Make sure to like it, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. That way you can see all of our latest anime and manga reviews as they are released. You can also check out our weekly podcast show, The Powerful Nerdcast. There will be a link for that in the description box below. Make sure to watch that. We actually just had some recommendations for some Halloween anime that you should watch, so check that out and share it with all of your buddies. Thank you guys again for watching, and as always, Happy Halloween!